In my last video where I talked about how Pokemon Legends games might end up being a trilogy, I said that I don't think we're gonna get any new regional variants in Pokemon Legends EA, and my reason for that was because, it just wouldn't make sense from a timeline standpoint if Pokemon Legends EA, presumably takes place in the present, and we've already been to Kalos in the past, then I don't think there'd be any new variants that haven't been discovered yet that we'd get in this game. I said that it makes sense that we have regional variants in Pokemon Legends Arceus, for example, because technically that's an old region that doesn't exist anymore, so I think it makes sense that there was different forms of different Pokemon in that region since it takes place in the past. And not only that, but that was obviously the forms that some of these Pokemon had before humans and Pokemon kind of coexisted. I think it makes sense from that standpoint. And then obviously for new regions where we did get regional variants like Alola, Galar, and Paldea, it also makes sense for those because those are brand new regions where we hadn't been yet. So of course there was going to be new variants of Pokemon that were discovered that kind of have adapted to that spot of the Pokemon world, and that's why they have those variants. Unfortunately, we haven't seen any regional variants in the leaks either, but in this video I'm going to try and give you guys some hope, and maybe we will get some regional variants in this game, and I'm going to show you guys a few concept images of what some in-game regional variants might look like. I got some for the starters, and there's a couple other ones that are pretty cool as well, so I'm going to show you guys all of that in this video. And I'm going to tell you guys why you shouldn't fully give up, why you shouldn't be disappointed about the regional variant situation just yet. So we're going to get into all that in this video, but I do want to say quick before we get into everything that I'm trying to hit 20,000 subscribers on the channel. So if you guys don't mind helping me reach my goal, I extremely appreciate you guys. And I also have a channel membership if you guys want to show a little extra support, but no pressure with that whatsoever. Shout out to all my current members. You guys are all the goats. I extremely appreciate all of you guys. So kind of my idea for the regional variants is that what if part of the Lumio City redevelopment plan that Quasartico is doing, what if for some reason, maybe some of the Pokemon in Lumio City didn't fit very well with this redevelopment plan that they're trying to do. So what if through some type of experiments or something that they were doing, because Quasartico obviously looks like there's some type of lab, or maybe they're just some type of scientists, but either way, I think that it wouldn't be entirely impossible if they had somehow created some type of artificial regional variants, which I kind of came up with that idea because what if they've had to alter the DNA of certain Pokemon, and that's kind of where these new regional variants would have came from. And I think out of all the Pokemon that could have gotten regional variants, I think obviously the starters would make the most sense of that. And the reason I say that is because for one, obviously it just works well with the gameplay of Legends EA, but also obviously all three of them aren't Pokemon that originate in Kalos. So because they're sort of not naturally occurring there, and especially because we're receiving these starters in one way or another, I think Quasartico is going to kind of play the role of the professors in this game where they're the ones who kind of give us our starter Pokemon. And what if they kind of say here's these three Pokemon that we've kind of altered to help us with this redevelopment plan, and maybe that explains kind of the random selection of these three starters as well, because I know a lot of people, including myself, have really questioned why we're getting 2 Johto Pokemon and 1 Unova Pokemon for the starters, where they could have given us 3 random ones from 3 different regions like they did in Legends Arceus, or even just the 3 Kalos starters. These 3 definitely felt a little odd, so maybe that would help explain it as well. And to show you guys kind of what these might look like, I have these super sick concepts made by Cardinal on Twitter. I'm sure if you guys have been around the channel for long enough now, you guys know that I love talking about Cardinal stuff because he's absolutely the goat at making these types of concepts. His link will obviously be in the description. So the first one I'm going to show you guys is Emboar, and I really like how he kind of looks like a chef almost. To me, his hair on top of his head kind of looks like, one of those French chef hats. It honestly low-key kind of reminds me of Ratatouille, and he's also got the big mustache and stuff. But overall, he doesn't look too much different, but it's definitely different enough where he looks like a regional variant and where he would kind of fit the theme of Lumio City a lot better. But overall, I think this is a sick concept, and I really hope we do end up getting something that looks like this. If the starters, of course, do end up getting regional variants. Then next up, we got this sick Feraligatr, and I also think this one works really well because to me, Feraligatr kind of looks like he would be a dark type or maybe a poison type in this variant. And you guys can see he's kind of in the canal or the river of Lumio City. And if you guys know, obviously canals and rivers that go through cities are usually pretty dirty. So I think the poison type would honestly work perfect for that. I could also see how the dark type would work, but poison definitely feels better for that. And like I was saying, maybe Quasartico has somehow, done an experiment to kind of modify the way Feraligatr is to where he's more adapted to dirtier, quote unquote, poisonous waters. You know what I'm saying? I really like that concept. And again, I do hope if the starters end up getting regional variants that Feraligatrs would look something like this. Then finally, last up here is Meganium. I honestly think this Meganium looks really similar to the one that we already have, Meganium's normal form. But I like how he's kind of kept the theme consistent with all 3 of these Pokemon kind of looking like they're really tired. I just think it's nice how all 3 of them kind of match up with that. And then I think the change color on the flowers is definitely definitely a nice touch. Again, I don't really have an idea for how this one is kind of, you know, adapted to the Lumio City redevelopment plan, but I'm sure they give us a cool reason if this did end up happening. And I think that this would get a fairy type, because currently the rumor is that Mega Meganium is going to have the fairy type, so I don't see why that would change if this regional variant was real. So yeah, the grass fairy type would definitely be sick, and I could see it fitting really well. Once again, shout out to Cardinal for making these. His link will be down in the description. Then to end off the video, I want to talk about a few more regional variant concepts that I've talked about in the past, and then also a few new ones that I found, because I think if they did do some new regional variants, there's a lot of Pokemon that they could use, and there's a lot of different creative things they could do, especially with certain Pokemon that would fit the theme of Kalos really well. So first of all, I just want to show you guys this one that's kind of goofy, but I mentioned Ratatouille before, so I just had to bring this one into the video. But this right here would be a Colossian version of Rattata. I don't know, I just think this one is pretty funny. I like how he's got the chef's hat and the spoon. It kind of reminds me of that Emboar that we looked at before with the chef's hat. I think that's kind of just a funny little design detail on both of them. But next up, I've wanted to see this one for a while. I've talked about this in previous videos. I think it's kind of disappointing that we haven't seen anything like this yet, but wouldn't it be sick if we got a Colossian version of Fido that kind of looked like a croissant? Because if you guys don't know, obviously Fido is based on like bread, and it's a dog Pokemon. So could you guys imagine if we got a croissant version? Because, you know, obviously the game takes place in a city that's based on Paris. And also I really like the type idea here. Like, a fairy fire type definitely makes a lot of sense, because to me, you know, the fairy kind of just goes with like the whole food theme of it. I honestly couldn't tell you guys why, but to me that just kind of sounds right when I think about it. But the fire type to me kind of seems like, you know, Fido is like the dough, so it's uncooked, you know what I'm saying? But now that the croissants are kind of like cooked, I don't know if croissants are made with dough, I'm not sure, but either way you have to cook them, so that's why I think the fire makes sense for this. And obviously to go with this, there was also a Colossian dash bun concept that I saw, and it was obviously the same theme as this one with the croissants, but I think these two concepts are super creative, and I think it'd be really funny if they actually put something like this in the game. To finish off the video, the last one that I wanted to show you guys was this Applin concept, and this one might even be my favorite one so far. This one is absolutely sick. I like how they use the A in the Legends EA logo kind of as his eyes here, and not to mention the bottom of it kind of looks like the design of the hexagons in the Z kind of as his body here. But yeah, overall I really like this one. I also think that's a cool type pairing. I would love to see them do something really creative like this. We don't see Pokemon like this too often, so I think if they actually added something like this to Legends EA, that would be really cool. I think a lot of people would probably like this as well. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about my ideas in this video. If you guys think it's likely that we get regional variants. Again, we haven't seen anything to do with regional variants in any official trailers or any leaks or anything yet, but it's something that a lot of people are really hoping for. So hopefully I gave you guys a little bit of inspiration out of this. Hopefully you guys kind of like my concept and my idea that I came up with here. Also, like I mentioned at the start of the video, I'm trying to hit 20,000 subscribers on the channel. So if you guys don't mind helping me reach my goal, I extremely appreciate all of you who decide to subscribe. And also shout out to all my members. I appreciate all of you as well. But yeah, anyways, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.